Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. I'm joined by Justin. How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
Excellent. We're back again to read some more comments. Again, it's been way too long since we've done one of these because there's just been so much stuff to make videos on the past couple of weeks.
We've been doing all these battle reps for you guys.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Really enjoying doing all those. We got Wave 13 and 12 coming out in, just a bit over a week now. So we're making a lot of content in anticipation of that. Yes, Justin's very excited. I'm very excited too. The second that drops, we'll do battle reps on those ships as well.
Want my silencer.
I want the Kimagila fighter. I'm so pumped for that. I actually want a lot of different upgrade cards from the various packs as well, so I'm going to have to see how I'm going to manage that, but it'll be fun regardless. Anyway, let's move on to these nice comments that you kind folks have sent me. The first one is from the video I did on the key elements of game design in X-Wing.
As a new player who jumped into the game, I am finding all the errated cards difficult to follow. It would be great if FFG had stickers I could put over my sleeves. Until then, masking tape and fine liner it is.
Yes, this is from Mr. Barnacle Bill. Excellent name. That's a very elegant solution, I must say. I actually quite like that solution of just using masking tape and fine liner just to put over a sleeve.
Yeah, I like that too.
I mean, it'd be a bit awkward for, say, Genius with a mountain of text, but you could just put a tape over and go, can't bump, can't bullet. And that's it. You're pretty much done. It's pretty much how it works. That's a great solution, but obviously, yes, we want FFG to give us a better solution for this. And I agree. The continued errata, whilst it does a great job of addressing the balance of the game, or at least I feel it does anyway, creates more and more complexity. The more cards we have out in circulation that don't do what's written on the cards is problematic. And I'm glad to see there's actually a new player here speaking up and saying, hey, this is a problem. Because a lot of us more experienced players say, hey, this is a problem for new players, but we need the voices of the new players to speak up as well. That's very, very important. I will say I am going to make a video on the complexity this brings to the game and how to address that. I said that over a week ago now. The reason I haven't is because I've had other videos to make, pure and simple. And that will be done hopefully over the next week or so. No promises, guys. Tomorrow there'll be an article and I'll have to do 10 videos on that. But anyway, on to the next comment, please, Justin.
Mike in Melbourne with the FAQ rundown video. While it's only a single data point, the recent Belgian nationals has been given a lot of attention. Lots of Palp Aces, Defenders and Triple Aces. Also seeing this at the local level if you look at post-FAQ store champ results. If it says one thing, Jump Masters and Bombs suppress the Imperial faction.
Absolutely. I was really keen to do a video on the New Zealand Nationals because we did the Australian Nationals. We're Australian, New Zealand's just across the pond, and that's like, hey, this is relevant to our local meta. And unfortunately, the New Zealand Nationals details was not posted on the List Juggler. The store that hosted that opted not to do it, which is fine. It's completely their choice. I understand that. But the reason I wanted to do that, apart from them being relatively local, is because it's a post-FAQ national tournament. And I want to have a look at the meta and how that worked and that kind of stuff. Now, Mike is not the only person to have posted about this. A couple of you, who I believe are actually from Europe, have asked me to have a look at some of the European stuff, particularly the Belgian and the Dutch National, I think, was recently posted on the...
Question mark?
Question mark, yeah. And I will have a look at those. But just, I've had a bit of a preliminary look at these tournaments, and Palp Aces is a thing again, apparently. Which, look, Palp Aces was big back in the day. For a very long time, arguably longer than Scum have been relevant in the meta. And it's cool to see it come back because ultimately I feel like Palp Aces is doing what the game is fundamentally about, and that's just having strong jousters. I guess if we move back into a Palp Ace meta, I would hope to see other lists do a similar thing and take it to Palp Aces. So Palp Aces will still be big in the meta, but there'll be other things like it floating around. And I'm confident we will see that, especially with Guns for Hire, that kind of thing. We're not giving Scum the same tools. Obviously, we've nerfed Manaroo, which is the best sort of support ship for Scum, which sort of function like Palp. But we have ace-like ships. They're not demonstrably better than Imperial Aces, but they're efficient, they have good arc dodging techniques. It's not automatic damage, it's not bombs, it's nothing like that. And I think it's good for the game to give Scum those tools, because then Scum players can start to move away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Some good jousting.
Yeah, which I quite like. So, yes, I think I'm going to have to do a top 16 in one of these European tournaments. I just need to find the time to do it. But stay tuned, we'll have a chat about that real soon.
Patrick Murphy in Brewing with Maul. Kayan is still in the B-Wing ship, which is not great right now. I think a cheaper, rage-inspiring recruit and having Jan Ors on another ship so he can turn the focus token into an evade is just better.
Yeah, I had to think about this when I was looking at the card. Obviously, B-Wings are not overly competitive at the moment, and the first point I want to make is I was looking at builds that push Maul as far as possible. And there is no doubt about it, out of all the different pilots, Kayan is going to combo the best with Maul. The issue is that good enough to overcome the less than competitive frame he's on, I think is the politically correct way of putting that. B-Wings are not super powerful in the meta right now, and it's just the reality of them. They had their original release and they had their fix a long time ago. However, and I just want to say, I don't fully agree for this basic reason is the power level of Maul varies so much ship to ship, and the power level of Maul affects the power level of the ship. It's a very symbiotic relationship he has with the ship because he's doing something completely original, which is removing stress tokens during the combat phase. That helps unlock a ship's dial. That actually helps a ship function better. And for that reason, I'm not going to say outright, this ship is just no good, even a good upgrade can't save it. Well, hang on, Maul is doing something to the ship that no other card's done before, and that actually might be enough to make the ship competitive. I'm going to say you're probably right. I mean, ultimately, it's not a competitive ship, and the likelihood of a random upgrade coming along and changing that isn't very high. But saying outright, no, it's just a bad ship, at the end of the day, it's a B-Wing, it's just terrible, don't fly it, I think is a bit unfair, and I think with the new design space that Maul brings, we shouldn't write it off outright.
Blood Rain on our first battle rep. Great bat rep, guys. I really enjoyed watching it. And Justin, well done for winning and not purposely going for the cruise missiles. Because, as Admiral Akbar would say, it's a trap.
Thanks, dude. We had a lot of really nice comments from this first bat rep, and I would love to do these weekly, but they are just so much work to put out, unfortunately. A lot more work than a regular video. But yes, I completely agree. Justin flew that perfectly. Not going for the cruise missile, I think, is the right way to do it. Having said that, you've flown it since, and you have gone for the Alpha Strike, and you were pretty happy with how it went?
Average.
Average? Yeah. I ultimately think that trying to purposefully position your ace in an aggressive manner is not always good for the ace, but it really boils down to how you fly. And especially for a new player, I think it's just great to just have that there sitting in the background and use it when it happens to work, but don't try and force it. And yes, absolutely, Justin did very well in that, and he's done very well in the few bat reps we've recorded. Not flying into rocks is very significant for a new player. Yeah.
Flying off the field,
flying off the board, yeah.
Not so good.
Yeah, we played a tournament the other day, and our last match was against each other, and unfortunately, Justin flew his ship off the board. However, I will say that allowed me to get a big win, which made me finish second, which made me get an alt-art version of Omega Ace.
Which I then got.
Omega Leader. Omega Leader, and I gave it to you straight away.
Yeah.
So, look, you didn't lose out completely, did you, man?
I won in the fact that I lost.
That's right. That's exactly right. Okay, we have one last comment from Mr. Terry Chapman.
On the last comments video, in response to our discussion on the lack of extra game formats, FFG does publish the missions, and I think many players don't spend that much time on them. At the end of the day, X-Wing the miniatures game can be seen as a puzzle. What's the most efficient list that fits within the parameters of the rules? Having more points bands certainly changes the ship taken, but will only result in a 30-point meta. Player-imposed casual list limits can really shake things up, but so does changing your perspective on the game. I often try to take a really bad upgrade card or ship, see Quad Jumper and Flight Instructor, and try to make them as competitive as possible. Then the X-Wing list building puzzle just becomes much harder, and as a bonus, I get to play these weird lists. And sometimes I even surprise people with something completely left field. As always, I enjoy the videos. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. That's all very insightful. Yes, basically, you can look at it as a puzzle. That's a great way of thinking of it, actually. And you bring up the point of you try weird combinations and try and force it to work. And this is actually a part of a bigger discussion about creativity. If you give yourself limitations within a certain set of parameters, that forces creativity. And that's a big part of what makes X-Wing great. I mean, you look at the big list that came around. Somebody had to think of them at some stage. Particularly something like Dengaroo. And I know Dengaroo got nerfed and banned in all kinds of different ways because, let's face it, it was pretty broken.
Yeah.
But the creativity behind this list was just insane. The person that thought of it really, really had to think hard about how to abuse this certain set of upgrades together to make this list just incredible. And that's basically what you're talking about here. Yeah, and you're right. FFG do post missions, and we can always, as players, change the amount of points bands that we use on our games. But ultimately, my biggest gripe is that there is no properly supported format beyond the 100 points. Yes, there are the formats that come in missions in the ships. There's Epic. There's 32 points that we play at shops. But what do we play at tournaments? 100-point dogfights. And that's okay. I have no problem with 100-point dogfights. I could play them till the cows go home and never be bored of the game of X-Wing. But it does put certain restrictions on the game. It means that the power level of certain ships is just low, and they may never be high again. We were just talking about the B-Wing in a previous comment, and it's suffering right now. But the B-Wing does way better in a lower points band. It's just how it is. All that kind of stuff's really cool, and even ships that are arguably too powerful, say the Jumpmaster before it got FAQ'd, is a lot less powerful when you have like 200 or 300 point matches, like Epic or Team Epic and that kind of stuff. But I guess my point is you're absolutely right. And I think what would be great for the game is if FFG actually came to the table and offered to us these different formats. It happened in Magic the Gathering, and I've talked about this before. Commander. Commander was made by a bunch of Magic judges because they wanted a different game format. They wanted something casual to play in between tournaments. And Wizards of the Coast, the makers of Magic the Gathering, came to the table and supported the product. And they gave us Commander decks.
And then now they're printing special cards just for Commander.
Exactly right. And we look at X-Wing, and there are so many shops, and I think 32 points. That is the one that they should be looking at, because it's done by several shops. Just here in Melbourne, there's a few different shops around that occasionally run 32-point tournaments. I played it at PAX. The format's a lot of fun, but the variance and the power level is a bit all over the shop with the format. It's not something that we can really play competitively for any sort of serious sort of strategic value, because the variance kind of negates good flying. And that's a problem with 32-point tournament. It's great casually, but competitively there is a fundamental issue with it. But if FFG gave us products that support that format, gave us ships that really are designed to fit into that format, it could be a serious thing. This is a possibility for us.
I kind of like that idea,
and that's just what I'm thinking. And thank you for that comment overall. There's a lot of really, really good points you brought up there. And I like it when people say things that are insightful and make me think. It's part of one of the great benefits or side effects of making this channel, having conversations with you guys. And that's why I make these comment videos, to go, hey, that's a great point.
More people should see this point, and let's try and expand on it.
Absolutely. And just another point I try and hammer home is I don't profess to be the expert of experts with X-Wing. I make a YouTube channel, I organise these comments, I organise this content, and I present ideas. But what I say isn't the word of law. It's a two-way conversation, and that's what everything is about. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for those comments. Keep them coming in as always. Like and subscribe, like our Facebook page, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.